They say you can't choose your family. That might be true, but you can damn well choose what to do when they stab you in the back. You can choose to walk away. You can choose to become someone they never expected. You can choose to let the pain shape you, mold you into something they can't recognize or control. I still remember the heat that clung to the July air like a second skin. The cicadas were loud, like nature's alarm bell screaming over every backyard conversation. We were gathered in my aunt's backyard, folding chairs arranged in a sloppy semicircle around a long, rickety table draped with a plastic red and white checkered tablecloth. It was the annual reunion, the one time everyone put aside their usual nonsense and pretended to be a wholesome, loving family. Burgers sizzled on a grill that leaned slightly to the left. Kids screamed and ran in barefoot loops. And my father gave me that look, equal parts proud and expectant, as he clapped a heavy hand on my shoulder. "You've been doing good, kid," he said, his voice gruff with age and smoke. "Real proud of you." I smiled. I had every reason to. At 25, I'd clawed my way into a stable career, squirreled away a solid 5 figures in my savings, and was finally feeling like I had some control over my life. I had just signed a lease on a tiny but clean apartment, furnished it myself, and was debt-free for the first time since college. I was beginning to feel a rare, delicate sense of peace. 2 days later, I woke up to find my bank account cleaned out. Every single dollar. I thought it had to be a mistake, a glitch, maybe some back-end banking issue that would resolve in a few hours. I called the bank, frantic, heart in my throat, until a very patient man on the other end explained the money had been transferred legally. Authorized. The name on the authorization? My father's. I confronted him the next day. Maybe it was an emergency. Maybe mom needed surgery. Maybe my little brother was in trouble. I was ready to give him the benefit of the doubt. I gave him a chance to tell me a story that would make it all okay. He didn't even blink, just stared at me like I was being dramatic and said, "We needed it." That was it. No apology, no explanation, just, "We needed it." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I just left. My body moved on autopilot while my brain screamed in static. The disbelief was almost more painful than the betrayal. I blocked them all, changed my number, moved cities, and started from scratch. It felt like ripping my own roots out. But it was necessary. Starting over was terrifying, but staying in that web of lies and entitlement would have been worse. I wandered through grief and rage and shame, not just for losing the money, but for being so naive. I journaled obsessively, trying to piece myself back together with ink and raw honesty. The first 2 years were brutal. I couch surfed, took odd jobs, worked as a barista during the day and did freelance tech gigs at night. I ate instant noodles 5 nights a week and used the library Wi-Fi because I couldn't afford my own. I got pneumonia in the second winter and couldn't afford to see a doctor. But somewhere in all that grit, something sparked. Rock bottom has a funny way of introducing you to your most resourceful self. I noticed a hole in the market. Small businesses needed modern, affordable branding and tech help. Not just websites, but full-on digital transformations. Strategy, automation, ad campaigns, e-commerce funnels. So I started helping them, one client at a time. I called the business Stonehill Solutions, a nod to the small town I grew up in, the place that taught me what resilience really meant. I designed my first logo in a Starbucks, pitched my first full package while sitting on a park bench, and built my first site in the corner of a crowded hostel. I reinvested every cent I made back into the company. I lived lean, thought big, and moved quietly. I treated every client like they were the most important person in the world. Because to me, they were. Every gig was another step out of the pit. I studied constantly, read marketing books, watched lectures on branding and automation, learned code late into the night. I networked without knowing I was networking, talking to small business owners, listening to their frustrations, taking notes. My brand became synonymous with trust, excellence, and affordability. And all the while, I kept my name off the spotlight. I wasn't ready to be seen. Not by them. I hired my first employee in year 3, a web dev named Priya who believed in the mission as much as I did. By year 5, we were a team of 15. I had an office with a skyline view, a dedicated support staff, and enough in the bank that I didn't check the balance anymore. But I still didn't tell anyone. I was quiet, deliberate, invisible to the people who'd once smiled at me over barbecue ribs while planning how to bleed me dry. By year 10, we were valued at $30 million. We had clients in 3 countries. Our work had helped launch startups, rescue brick-and-mortar shops, and even turn around a couple of flailing restaurant chains. I owned a house that looked like something out of a movie. Marble counters, infinity pool, a view that went on for miles. My garage was a flex. Vintage Mustang, matte black Tesla, Ducati for the weekends. I wore tailored suits when I felt like it and hoodies when I didn't. My life, once held together by duct tape and stubbornness, had transformed into something sleek and strong. I was free, not just financially, emotionally, spiritually. I had rebuilt myself from the foundation up, brick by painful brick. But inside, a quiet fire still burned. I told myself I didn't care, that I'd moved on. But deep down, I knew I hadn't. So when I got the email from my cousin Kelly, subject line, "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a full 10 minutes before I opened it. She wrote about how much she missed me, how the family hadn't been the same since I disappeared, how my mom cried every Christmas, how they all regretted what happened, that maybe it was time to make things right. There was no mention of money. I replied 3 days later, said I was willing to meet. Just a short visit. They greeted me like a returning war hero. My mom crushed me in a hug and cried into my jacket. My brother, now taller and broader, gave me a sheepish nod. Dad. He looked older, grayer. He smiled, said, "Glad you came back, son." I wanted to believe things had changed. I wanted to believe the past was behind us. For a brief second, I thought maybe this was the redemption arc. Maybe people could change. But old habits die hard. It started small. My aunt asked if I could help her look into her taxes. My uncle mentioned his buddy who needed a website and said I should cut him a deal. My mom casually asked if I was doing okay financially, the way someone asks if they can borrow your car before you even offer. Then one night I caught my brother in the guest room I was sleeping in, rifling through my laptop bag. He froze when he saw me, made up some excuse about looking for a charger. His eyes gave him away. Guilty? Nervous. I didn't yell, didn't accuse. I just looked at him. And in that look, I think he understood he'd lost me. I didn't say anything, just packed my things and walked out. Again. 2 days later, I got a notification about a login attempt on one of my business accounts from an unfamiliar device in my hometown. They were still trying to take from me, after all these years. So I sent them all an email. One line. "Next time you try to steal from me, bring better tools." Then I posted a press release. Stonehill Solutions acquired by Venture Tech for $96 million. Founder to remain as CEO. My inbox exploded. So did theirs. I saw the reaction on social media, the LinkedIn mentions, even a local news story titled, "Hometown Tech Star Strikes It Big." But that was just the opening move. Over the next 6 months, I launched a new company, Everest Equity, a private equity firm that acquired small, struggling businesses in my hometown, including the diner my uncle co-owned, the contracting company my cousin worked for, and the accounting firm where my aunt still handled admin. One by one, I bought them out. And one by one, I let them go. Politely, legally, without anger. I simply hired better people, people who didn't steal from family. I rebuilt those businesses under new names, new leadership, better ethics. I paid former employees to stay on, gave them raises, health insurance. I made their lives better while cutting off the rot at the root. Then I renovated my childhood home. Bought it from the bank. It had gone into foreclosure. I turned it into a halfway house for young adults aging out of foster care. Every room, every wall, rebuilt into something nurturing, something healing. I invited the local press, made sure the story ran front page. My mother drove by once while the ribbon-cutting ceremony was happening. She didn't stop, just stared. That was enough. They finally saw me. Not the naive kid they could drain dry, but the man who turned betrayal into an empire, who had learned to weaponize pain, who had turned silence into strategy, who'd turned revenge into legacy. My mom called. I let it go to voicemail. My dad texted, "Proud of you." I didn't reply, because I learned something in those 10 years. You can survive without love, but you can't grow with leeches. Love without respect is manipulation. Family without boundaries is a prison. And loyalty should never be a one-way street. And some families, you're better off choosing for yourself. Nowadays, I surround myself with people who build, not break, who give, not grab. I fund scholarships. I mentor kids who grew up like I did, hungry, hopeful, and betrayed by the ones they trusted most. I travel. I breathe. I wake up without the weight of betrayal on my chest. Sometimes, I still think about that July afternoon, about the burgers, the laughter, the moment I thought I belonged, the moment before everything cracked. But mostly, I think about the silence that followed, and how I filled it with something better. Me, my future, my rules. And that, more than anything, is what they'll never be able to steal.